Hi guys, I'm Brooke and this is Pippa, and we travel full-time out of my 2004 Honda CRV, and we are about to start our third summer on the road. We are going to tell you how we stay cool while we are traveling and living out of a vehicle instead of an RV, a travel trailer, etc. I'm just putting the disclaimer out there that this is just what we've done for the past 2 summers, and it is what I'm planning to do going into a third summer. There are so many different ways to travel, live out of a vehicle, live on the road, etc. And I am just speaking from personal experience. If you have something that works better for you, then you should go ahead and do it. Leave it in the comments. It might help somebody else, but please be respectful about it. I have been seeing a few people arguing in my comment section lately about one thing versus another. And just because something works for you doesn't mean it's the end all be all. We are all humans. We all have different preferences, likes, dislikes, etc. So if you are going to give a suggestion, just please be respectful about it. Another thing is that we do travel. I do work remotely. All of my income comes from YouTube, TikTok, social media, etc. I do pick up a few freelance things. I have a video of what I did for my job previously. I still have a couple clients that I'm working with, and I have been working remotely since I've been on the road. So I do have the luxury to travel with the weather, etc. So if you are in one location because of a job, because of kids, etc., and the weather gets too hot in that area, or you can't travel somewhere else to beat the heat, I would suggest looking up creators who have better tips, who have to stay in certain areas. Maybe just like search those people up and see what they do. But for me, I don't have any suggestions on that, because coming to my first point is that we travel with the weather, and especially we actually travel with elevation rather than like the weather itself when it comes to the heat. My favorite thing to do is to just gain elevation as things heat up all summer. So what I am doing is really zooming in on that map and trying to find places with higher elevation that maybe we haven't tried before, or going back to some of my favorites. And I know a lot of people want me to give away my favorites, but they're special to me and I'm not going to give them away just yet. But luckily, maps are free and public for everyone to use, so places with higher elevation are pretty easy to find, and you may end up at one of the same places that I love the most as well, because I know when I go there are tons of other campers, especially end of June, July, and August. So they exist. They are free and public to find. I'm just not going to give a list of my private favorite lists just for my own safety. A lot of people get confused that they think going north equals gaining elevation, and that is just simply not true. There are a lot of places in states, say even like Arizona, where you would think it's just hot, it's just desert, but there is higher elevation places outside of Tucson and in Flagstaff, Arizona. Flagstaff sits at like 7,500 feet. I would really take a second to familiarize yourself with some geography, not because I think you're dumb or because of anything else, but because it's a really unique way to find some really cool places that you may not know actually have a higher elevation. So I challenge you to get out those maps, do it old school, and do some research on some cool places that you might be able to find that do have higher elevation that maybe aren't so obvious, and you can have a great summer with some really cool nights, chilly mornings, and some shade during the day. The next thing I would highly suggest is that if you go back and watch my first How I Stay Cool in the Car video, I did not have any window tinting at all, and I did not know how much window tinting really did make a big difference. Now my windows are tinted. I did do it myself, but I did it over the winter when I had a lot of time. Last summer I did not have a lot of time, and I really needed something budget friendly that I couldn't really mess up, and I just needed something quick and easy, and I found the best solution just from AutoZone. It was like 10 bucks a roll. I only needed 2 rolls of it to do all of my windows. That cling tint film that I could do all of my windows, and it made all the difference. And because it was like that thicker cling film that you put on a window for like decoration or anything like that, I could remove it, clean the window and put it back on, or if I messed up, I could take it off and put it back on a bunch of times. And it was that thicker plastic, so I could get it clean and reuse it as time went on. After I realized that I really enjoyed having my windows tinted, just not only for privacy but also for the heat factor, I did decide to do all of my windows as well with regular tint. They don't look perfect, they're not amazing, but it has helped a ton. The next thing I want to talk about is having an outdoor setup of some sort, if that's an awning, a shade, a tarp, or something like that. Creating a space for yourself outdoors to be able to get out of the car when it does get too hot, if you cannot avoid being in an area that is a little hotter, especially if there's a breeze or something. Almost every single time it is going to be cooler to sit outside the car than in it. For me, I have an awning. I can't set it up because if you can't tell, it is actually pretty windy here. I do have a picture of it. It's a really large, kind of like tarp style awning, so it's really easy to take down and put up. And it does have a silver side on the back, so you can have like the black side up or the silver side up. And so when I can set it up like an awning, I do, and I set it up just the way you see. I have these magnetic hooks where I just hook it to one side of the car and pull it over the top. Works out really well. And if it is too windy on some days where I have to park in the sun, or maybe I'm not getting as much shade as I want to, I actually flip it over to the silver side and just use the magnets to keep it right on my roof to reflect some of that heat. I know when I did my headliner video, a lot of people suggested putting a tarp on the top, and I do have one. I just didn't mention it in that video, and that's what I use, and it does help reflect that heat off of the car. And I like that it doubles also as an awning, so when I want to sit outside, or like in the picture I showed, I was cleaning out my car, so I had everything on my table. I can do those little projects outside of the car or sit outside the car and have the nice breeze and get it in the shade and not have to be sitting inside the whole time. Also, talking about sitting outside is getting a hammock. Hammocks are super inexpensive these days. I think the hammock that I have is from Walmart. I think I got it for less than $10, and because of the thin material and the fact that you have airflow underneath you and over top of you, finding a couple trees, whether that's outside your campsite or in a public park or something like that, to string up a hammock and hang out and read for the day and just be able to get out of the car for a while, really does make a difference in your mental health on really hot days. Pippa loves sitting in the hammock with me, and we just read and do puzzles, listen to podcasts, hang out, etc. Never, ever, ever underestimate the power of airflow. So I have a bunch of these little USB fans that I use constantly. They always stay running to keep the air moving, because when there is not a breeze, just that stagnant air, I feel like, is what gets to you in the heat. And even if your windows are cracked and there's no breeze, you need to keep the air flowing in the car. And so those USB fans, I think I got them at Walmart for like $5 a piece. I know that you can get battery powered ones, but these little desk fans only pull about a watt of power, so I can keep them running all night and really not have to sacrifice almost any battery usage. So I just choose to have the USB ones. They have this little stand on the back, so I can actually hook them over the windows to kind of help pull in some of that cooler air from outside, and it really does make a way bigger difference than you would think. Then we come to my window screens and my window covers. So I obviously use Reflectix just like a lot of other van lifer, car lifers, etc. And I put up different ones during certain times of the day. So right now you can see I have one in my back little like cutout window, and then as the sun moves, I will put it in my back window because that's where the sun is coming in. And also my battery and my fridge are back there, so I like to keep those protected from the sun. And then if I was, you know, parked the other way, I would have this one in. But just throughout the day, I cover different windows depending on where the sun is. It's about noon right now, so there's really not a ton of sun coming like actually into the car. It's on the top, and it really makes a difference if you're just more vigilant to keep those sunscreens in and have them reflecting that heat out of the car, especially if you're going to be sitting inside. Along with the window screen, just having the screens in over your windows does help diffuse some of that light. so you don't feel like you're just baking in the car as well, and you can have airflow. At night, obviously the screens come in handy with bugs during the summer, and that you can still have a little bit of privacy with those screens, but keep the windows cracked so you can have the airflow so you're not just suffocating inside at night. I wasn't even gonna put it on my list, but my new headliner works amazing. I love that I finally did that. If you didn't see the video where I did this headliner, it's like 2 videos back. I put Reflectix thumbtacked to my ceiling, and then I just have this little fabric over top that I still kind of have to tweak a little bit. But this headliner situation has made such a difference. I have parked all week, not in the shade at all. There are no campsites around me right now that are available in the shade. It's a holiday weekend, and so I've been parked all week out in the sun, and Pippa and I have had this great breeze because we're up kind of on a hill, and we have not been miserable literally at all. It is deflecting way more than even I thought would, and I know there was a lot of naysayers in that comment section because there isn't an air gap, but because of the headliner already having an air gap, and then being the Reflectix being pinned to it, that it's not just right up against the metal of the roof, I think there is more space that it is reflecting up into than maybe people in the comments realized, and it is working out super well, and it was a very cheap solution. So I encourage you to go back and watch that video because I found that it has made all the difference, and I'm so mad that I didn't do it last summer. I talked about in that headliner video about my trip to North Dakota last year, and it was awful. I don't know what got into me to want to go to North Dakota in the middle of summer. It was 100+ degrees, and one of the things that saved us the most was having those cooling towels or even just a damp washcloth with a fan running over you. That in it of itself really helped a ton, especially with the dog. I would just put it right over her tummy while she was laying down, and I would put that fan on her, and she would cool down pretty much instantly and then relax and fall asleep. It was the way I kept her safe the most of the time. She does have one of those cooling mats that she lays on. Obviously, having that airflow over a damp washcloth really can cool you down faster than you realize, and that is how we both were able to fall asleep that night, and during the day it kept us sane. Pippa wanted to sit with me. So if throughout the day the sun is moving, move your car into the shade as the sun moves. That is the nice part about being in a vehicle that you can move. Same thing with the breeze. If the breeze is coming in a certain way, maybe move your car around so it is coming in through like a cross breeze, keeping that airflow going for you. Take the movability of your vehicle to your advantage, even if that is finding new places around town or moving into different shaded parking spots, etc. You are in a smaller movable vehicle, you can take advantage of that. Don't forget the fact that your car moves, and that just because when you park it that means you have to stay there. You really don't. You can move it around as much as you need to, especially when it's hot out, and it's for your safety and your sanity when it is hot. And the last thing is to find some water. My favorite thing to do is when I can't avoid an area's heat, or maybe the weather is going to change and it's just going to be a hot couple days and it's going to cool down, we go find some water. Pippa is not a water dog. She doesn't really like to swim, but she will go stand in the water, even if it is begrudgingly. And so we go find a little river, a stream, a lake, something. Obviously a lot of people go to the coast during the summer, whether it's the east or west coast. And go find some water to play in, cool off. You can find so many free places to hang out with some water and to have a really good time. And it's the summer, you're supposed to enjoy it. Really try to think outside the box with those kinds of activities that you can go, even just put your feet in the water, get a camping chair, go float, get a little inner tube or something for Walmart, and go hang out in the river for a little bit and just really cool off. Sometimes even parking near water obviously helps, because The breeze coming off of the water and source, no matter what it is, obviously will help keep you cooler. So even if you're just parking there during the day and then go back to your campsite at night, it can really help a ton. And I would encourage you to think outside the box with some of those things and maybe add them to your travel plans if you are struggling to find a way to stay cool in an area that you're really wanting to visit. So I hope this video helps you in your travels this summer, staying cool while you are car camping, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye!